Hello and welcome to the Ronny Leber Show, where every week we bring you fascinating guests with inspiring stories of success and overcoming obstacles from the worlds of sports, business, and entertainment. To support this channel, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and hit the like button so that we can deliver you the best content possible. And now, thank you very much and enjoy the show. Our guest of today, she is an Austrian living in Bali. She is a TV and event host, a public speaking and confidence coach, an author, and she's building her beauty business. Please welcome, live from Bali, here is Cathy Zimmermann. Woo!
Hi, from Bali. You just said it. Evening time, my time right now.
Yeah. Nice. Beautiful. Hi and welcome. And wow, that's quite a journey that I've had so far. And when you listen to your own journey or to just some highlights, what comes to mind for you?
Unusual. That's the first word probably that pops into my mind. It's probably not a classic way or a classic path that I have for my life path, my life career. Although I always say, who says what is normal, what is usual, what is not? But like in usual society consideration, I think my path is kind of unusual. Yeah, I would say. But I love it. I love my path. I love my life. And I just said to a friend of mine a few days ago, I really love the woman I am becoming with now 40, 41. So it took some time, but we're going to talk about this probably. So yeah.
That's beautiful. And it's beautiful to hear that. And I think it's always great when you feel aligned with your core, with who you want to be. And that actually brings me back to, before we go back into all your backstory, when you were a kid, what did you want to become? Like, what did you imagine? I'm sure it was not you imagine, I'm going to live in Bali and doing what you're doing right now. So what I read that you wanted to become a dancer. Is that correct? Or was it something else on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to become a dancer. I was dancing for 8 years, basically, and it was my vision to become, like one of these super cool background dancers of Michael Jackson. I mean, I was a huge Michael Jackson fan, so that would have been the thing for me, to be one of these sexy, cool background dancers of Madonna, Michael Jackson, you name it. But obviously, that did not happen. I mean, the stage I was a part of my life for a long time, but in a different sense. But I was not one of those kids or teenagers who exactly knew what they wanted to be. So I always admired these people in school who were like, I'm going to be a doctor, or I don't know, I'm going to be a this and that. Yeah, I never had that vision that precisely because I was interested in a lot of things. And and this you can see in my path as well. I am like a butterfly, always flying to that area and then to that flower and then to this flower, and just really wanting to try out a lot of new things. I cannot stick to just one. It would kill me. It would really kill me to know what happens in 30, 40 years, for example, to have the same job for 30, 40 years. It would kill me. I need the change. I need it like air, really. So, and that was like that already as a child, definitely. So I had no precise plan.
Wow. So definitely some need for variety in your life in general, and for getting some uncertainty around you in a good way, like in changing things. And when you were 22, you started to work on TV and as a host. Was that something that because there are many young aspiring talents who say, oh, I want to become a TV host, or want to become a commentator, I want to go on TV, do this and that. But for you, that was, if I'm correct, it was not the big goal, or was it? Was it a coincidence, or how did that happen?
Like I just said, I had no plan yet what I wanted to be, and definitely being a moderator or on television or on a stage or on radio was never even on my or in my radar. It was nothing that I thought about. It was like too far away, you know, only the others can do that, or that's only on television. Yeah. But no, I've never thought about that. But I think in life, nothing comes by coincidence. I'm deeply convinced that everything happens for a reason, the good and the bad, and it's what we make of it. And so I'm 100% sure that all of these things, like I always say, they're orchestrated kind of from above, as if there was someone, you know, like pulling the strings here, and now she bumps into this person, and now this one comes around the corner, now this contact happens. So this is how I think it goes. And it was like that with television as well. So I was on or at studying at the University of Economics. Super stupid, because of course I knew from the very beginning on that's absolutely not my passion, and actually I couldn't imagine myself ever working from 9 to 5 in this field. I just studied because my parents said I should study, and I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? Economics, but okay, you have good job chances. That's how we are educated, and that's what our parents say to us that we should be aiming for. So it was like going there, studying Italian language as well in the economic context, business context.
Just a second, I want to dig into that, because as you were mentioning that, because you're doing this because your parents told you to do that, or that would be great. And you're by far not the only one. I mean, I also studied at the University of Economics, and I know that there are many cases like that. And I'm sure that there are going to be people listening who are saying, well, that's my story. What can you tell somebody like that? What now, from looking backward, what advice would you give somebody in that situation?
It sounds cliche because you read it in every super smart book today and hear it everywhere, but do what you want. That's really the advice I would give to myself. And this is literally what I started to do in my life. That's why I think my path is unusual, because unfortunately, I think a lot of courage is missing in nowadays societies. People are constantly afraid of everything, what they do, what they say, what the neighbor could think. And this is very much limiting and very much blocking. And I mean, I've experienced it myself. You too, obviously, when you were at a university you actually didn't want to be. But it was a big learning. And that's why I said nothing happens just like that. You have to have some experience. You have to have them. You have to feel the pain. You have to feel this sadness or frustration or anger. Like, what the heck am I actually doing here? I'm wasting my time here. Yeah. University is not for everyone. It was definitely not for me. So what I learned really is just do what I want, which is not always easy when you have parents who are like, can't you just have a normal job? Can't you just have a secure income? Can't you just do what everybody else is doing? Then you are safe and sound. And this is the conditioning that a lot of us get, I think. And it's not bringing me forward. It's just not my parents' life. It's not my neighbors, my friends' life. I love my parents. I love my neighbor. Sometimes, some of them, I love my friends, but it's my life. So why should I listen? But of course, that's a process. And I was not confident enough with 19, 20, 21 to say, no, okay, I do my own thing. It was a journey. It's a process, and that's super normal. And I also think that the younger generation today, it's kind of easier for them because they have so much content right now, like inspirational content on YouTube. Things on the internet, Tony Robbins books and events, and all of these inspirational figures, mentors, people that you can listen to. It was not exactly like that when I was young. And I'm not talking even about my parents when they were young whatsoever. So it's easier, I think, for the younger generation to get a special type of mindset that makes you, that encourages you more, like really following your heart, following your inner voice, doing your own thing, basically. Yeah, that's what it's about.
That's a beautiful learning and beautiful teaching that you're giving the audience here. So now I'm curious, how did you get into TV then? Like, what was the story? How did it happen?
So studying, and yeah, I was like in a young age starting to model every now and then. I did this since I was a child, and was ending up at an agency in Vienna, and they worked together with ATV, which is a private television station in Austria, and they were doing a casting. We're looking for new faces, blah blah blah, and just my agency invited me, and I think it was 2 weeks with the agency, so super new, super fresh baby there. And then I went to this casting. I had absolutely no clue what I'm supposed to do. It was just talking like I do. And they were like, okay, thank you. And 2 weeks later, I got the go, you are on television. I was like, like really, it was okay. I couldn't really understand what that really means or what kind of preparation that would actually be for my life, also for what I do now professionally. I couldn't really understand that at that time. I was just like, hey, cool, okay, I'm 21, yeah, I'm 22, cool, I'm gonna be on TV. It was super fun. Yeah, that's how it happened.
Wow,
So
that's amazing, and I actually want to dive into that, because sometimes an opportunity arises when you are not ready for it at the time, or you feel, or oftentimes, or sometimes we might limit ourselves, like, oh, I don't have the education for that, I don't have the training, I'm not experienced enough, I'm too young, I'm too old. Like you're building all these beliefs in terms of what could limit you. Was there anything like that also for you that came to your mind in that moment, or did you just think, well, all right, I'm here, let's just do it? Or what were your learnings in the beginning? How were your first steps when you entered a totally new territory?
the funny thing is, I've always been, but I didn't understand that either at the time, a very sensitive person when it comes to feeling myself. Um, so I felt that's wrong, that's not for me. I felt that's right, that's it, that I'm good in, that I'm not. So I think everybody, of course, can do that, but many of us tend to maybe even hear it, the gut feeling or the intuition or the voice, or feel it, but still we do the opposite because, for example, other people tell us what to do. But back then, I can remember when I was first in front of that camera, actually at that casting, when I had the text like in this auto teleprompter thing, something was just like, it's very hard to describe it in words. I was just feeling very aligned. That's the word you used before. I was like standing there, and while I was talking, I was thinking like, hey, that's absolutely my thing. Actually, that's not difficult at all. Okay, I smile, I talk, I was like quite natural. At least that's what they said. I was like, that's it? I mean, that's how it feels being on television, a moderator. Like people from outside always think I could never do that. It must be so difficult. You must be so nervous. And I was standing there. It was like brushing teeth for me, really. And I just felt that it was an easy thing for me. So maybe I was supposed to do that. And I
So you
think that,
enjoyed it basically as well, right? If I hear that correctly.
yeah, very much. It was easy, easy, easy. Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of the recipe for success as well, to enjoy the journey, to just, when I remember my first TV experience, and I've been on TV also many, many, many hours. And I remember the first half hour to an hour, I was nervous. I was thinking, well, who is watching this and how is this? But it was just because I was in my head. I was more
Yeah.
focused with my own thoughts than actually being present. And then I thought, okay, I got to change this. So I literally analyzed what was going on. And then basically, okay, relax, calm down, take a breath, be present, and just imagine like there is nobody watching. Just be you and enjoy. And I always thought, like, I have no idea who's watching. Maybe nobody. I don't care. I'm just here having fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also different if you, I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, it was a big difference being on television, being on radio, and being on stage. So for me, this is
Absolutely.
really, it's a huge difference. And for me, for example, radio was always tougher than television because nobody sees you, you don't have mimics, you don't have body language. People only hear your voice. So you have to be way more emotional in speaking and just like, up and down. Otherwise people fall asleep. So it was, for me, actually, it was more difficult than the television thing. And the television thing, I just felt safe with the studio. You were, it was like your ship. You were sitting here and you had the camera there, and on stage, that's another story, I think. So for me, the stage thing is just that's the AA level. If you're good on stage, because for me that's the most difficult, because you can't hide. Definitely can't. I mean,
You
can't
definitely
run
can.
from the stage, but would not be so good maybe. You can't hide. What you say is what's out, what people hear. You see people staring at you. In television, you don't see anybody. You only have you and your camera. That's what makes it easier, I find, at least for me. But the stage thing, if you're good in that, then you master yourself really, really well. Those were the things I was most nervous. Of course, I was most nervous live on stage always.
Wow. I want to dive into that a little bit deeper, a little bit later, because I want to first continue as well with your journey before we dive into the really public speaking nuts and bolts and so on, and the itty gritty. You were 10 years on TV. And besides the public speaking aspect, what were your biggest learnings that you had during that journey?
That nobody kills me if I make a mistake. Especially on air, it's another thing if a lot of people are watching you. It's different than if I make a mistake at work, in the office, or if I make a mistake in my family or in my friend circle. But I always thought, or I think a lot of people think, if they have to present something or they are on television and they make a mistake, that's gone. That's their end. That's the I don't know, world, whatever, catastrophe, emergency, whatever, alarm going off. Yeah, that's the end. And of course, I was afraid of that too. I think everybody is. So I learned that if I make mistakes live on air, nobody kills me. What mostly happened was exactly the opposite, which was funny, that people liked it, which doesn't mean that you should make mistakes on purpose just so that people like you. But when you make mistakes and they see it's natural and it just happens, and they like it, they find you very sympathetic, very real, very pure, very natural. So that was basically a big learning. And
And by the way, just to underline that, I think it's beautiful what you're saying, because I had the same experience. And sometimes I was thinking in the moment, and I was oftentimes live. And when you're live, and as you said, you cannot take it back. When it's out, it's out. And I remember saying some things where I was thinking in the moment,
like,
oh my God, what did I just say? And then I was really surprised at times that I didn't hear any feedback. Like nobody was afterwards telling me something like, well,
are you
some people called or some, no, nothing. I thought,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. No, we make it bigger than it is, in fact, which makes our fear bigger as well. But the second learning maybe is kind of linked to what I just said, the being, and also that's so cliche because everybody tells you, "Oh, be yourself." Yeah, but how? It just doesn't work like that. But being yourself and practicing that on a daily basis. For example, when you're a television moderator, you have to. You're forced to, kind of, to really learn to stay to your natural language, to use the words on television that you use with your friends, to stay absolutely the same person, make the same movements, don't become bigger than usual or freeze. Yeah, so just literally practicing, really being yourself. This is what brings you the most success. Even if you have like weird things going on. I was like, for example, I was a person who was really talking a lot with their face, because I just have a strong mimic, yeah. So why would I change that? Just because I'm on television, I would suddenly, like, I don't know, freeze. And because in television people say you have to be more professional, so I freeze in my face. No, I was just always smiling, always laughing, even if I interviewed politicians. And that's what I say to my clients as well. I talk to politicians or people of higher rank exactly the way I talk to you now. And this is the recipe of success, because it's just what makes you unique. And people want uniqueness. They don't want to look everybody the same and sound everybody the same. It's just not authentic. But of course, again, you have to become a little bit confident in order to dare to be yourself. If you're not confident, you just escape into a role, because the role is not me and the role is safe. But that's not the goal.
And I totally agree with you, because also that just reminds me of a friend of mine. And she oftentimes, when she went into a meeting in preparation, she was like, well, okay, but I got to be professional. Or when she went to a new company, okay, I'm going to show up professional. Like, and I said, you are professional. Just be yourself, because what are you going to do? You're going to pretend the whole time that you're there, that you're somebody else who you're not? That doesn't mean you're not professional, but it's just this idea that oftentimes we have what professional means, that, oh, you cannot be funny, you cannot make any jokes, or whatever it is. No, just be who you
Yeah,
are.
exactly. It's conditioning, you know. I mean, since school, basically. So I can remember, I don't know how schools are nowadays. I'm long out of school, but in my school, I heard every now and then, like, don't be so bubbly, calm down a bit, be a bit more normal, you know, like, it's not about you in this presentation, it's about the topic XYZ, geography or whatever. So of course, from an early age on, you're like, okay, so I have to be, or I'm supposed to be different, not really me, because obviously how I am is too much, too bubbly, whatever. Okay, so I have to, you know, like, get myself together and be normal. And this is really also at university. So it doesn't matter where you look at. So when you enter the professional field, of course, why would you suddenly be, hey? Yeah, nobody does that. Of course not.
In your experience, is this different between men and women in terms of what the confidence and self-esteem and so on when it comes along?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so I experience definitely a difference in confidence, for example, between men and women. So men are definitely, when I'm just looking at my circle of clients now and the people I have to do with, are the guys are definitely more confident. Yeah, but not always. It's not always that they have the reason for that, but they are definitely more confident. So while, I don't know, you ask the guy, there is a presentation in 2 months about this and that topic, would you like to do it? And he's like, sure. He doesn't have a clue how he's going to do it, but he will figure it out on the way. But if I ask a woman, for example, would you do the presentation in 2 months about this and that topic, she's going to be like, I'm not good enough for that. I haven't had enough presentations. I don't have enough experience. I don't want to be in the public eye. I'm feeling more comfortable behind the scenes. So whatever. And this is a fact, and it's so sad, because if you are like a smart woman who has to say something, who is an expertise in whatever topic, just get out there on social media, but also on stages of the world. We need so many more women, and so many more women who want to become visible and who want to fly. And that's why I'm also really encouraging always my female clients to step more into the spotlight. It does not have to be television now, but you know what I mean. Just get themselves out there.
I read that you actually in school, you hated presentations, that you did not want to go in front of the classroom and say hi or whatever. Like, how was that? And so it was what some people might actually describe as fear of public speaking, or something like, I don't know if it was a fear, but it was definitely feeling uncomfortable. How did you deal with it? And what do you tell to your clients when they are facing the same issue?
That's true what you read. So yes, that's the funny part. No, I became a moderator, although I really had fear of speaking in school. That's so typical, classic. What life holds for you sometimes. But definitely, I hated walking in front of everybody in the classroom, like doing some math things in front of everybody, or exams or presentations. I hated it. I was super nervous. I was super insecure. I was quite shy. I didn't like myself as well. I didn't find myself pretty. All these things, coming together that don't make you feel comfortable standing in front of people. And so, yeah, that was horrible. It was really like when I went into the class, I was always like praying, please, teacher, don't say my name, don't say my name, don't say my name. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. So yeah, that's why I can feel everybody really well who has fear or big feeling of feeling uncomfortable in front of people standing and speaking. How did I overcome that? At school, not at all, because like there was no one really I could turn to, or like I said, teachers were like trying to tell me how I should be. That was the thing. Maybe it made me insecure as well because I just couldn't be how I was actually. And with my clients who experience the same thing, it's a mix of confidence training, which means hardcore practicing. Really, we do like video and video recordings, analyzes. We do catwalks. So we do fun stuff as well. Know how to move. I always say implement your inner queen or implement your inner king, depends. Like really starting to feel the body, starting to like what you see, what you hear, finding out which side, for example, like the little things, which profile side you like better. It may sound ridiculous to some, but it's very important to know these little things to get to know yourself better and find out, okay, actually, for example, this is my side. I always turn, since I'm on television, day one, I learned quite fast because I observed myself that this is my better side. So on every photo shooting that I've had, it was many magazine covers, television, whatever, stage, even on stage, I try to position myself on the spot where I can show this side, because I felt way more beautiful, comfortable with this side. And these little things are important. It's important to know how to look, how to stand. It just gives you confidence. And so we train a lot of these things, but also, and this is what I said before, what does being yourself mean? It means to dare to stick to your language, to your words, and to your movement, not only in your friend circle, but then when it gets highly professional. And actually, there should not be any difference, no difference if I talk to you, Ronny, or if I talk to the president. There should be no difference in the way I move, I smile, I speak. And this is what still has to get in people's heads, that they should not switch into professional, because professional in the most cases today is like dead. It's dead.
Yeah.
There's no emotion. It's like a dead shell that I'm looking at. And again, listen to that person.
And oftentimes it's an awkward situation then. Maybe if you're just talking one-on-one to somebody where you're totally intimidated, you're in your head, you're not being yourself, and you're there, hi, I'm Ronny. Yeah. And so you're not really confident, you're not enticing, you're not motivating. It's just like, and the other person is like, okay, hi, you look like a very interesting person. Not. And so it's kind of, but even if you are, but it's just like, and everybody is in a way. You just need to learn how to show it. So let's stay a little with talking to an audience. What do you believe, or what do you think is most important when talking to an audience, and besides being real and being yourself?
Creating emergency content. It's a detail now that almost nobody prepares. Only the very, very, very professionals do that. But nobody in the corporate world, for example, who has presentations ever does that, besides they're ending up in my training. Then they have to. But so I I said they're always like, I don't know what you think of it, but like there are 3 phases. There's the preparation phase, which is the longest and the unsexiest phase, because it's just, preparation, and this takes time and can be really boring, exhausting, whatever. Then the transformation phase 2, where you like bring your whatever you've prepared and written down, like kind of into your words. So you start to practice that. And this is a very huge keyword for me. Practice. People don't practice today. I don't know what's going on. Sports people practice.
I'm gonna wing it.
Yeah, definitely. I have no experience, but I'm gonna do it. And singers practice, and actors and dancers practice. So the whole creative industry practices. But if we're standing in front of people talking to us, we don't practice. So the second part is practicing until you cannot hear it anymore yourself. Well, it's just really, it has to be so 1000% in there in the mind to know what you say, because then only then you're really feeling safe, and only if you feel safe then you can start to improvise and to play, not without feeling safe. Because people are like, I can talk about my topic like for 3 weeks, and I'm like, that's cool, but that's not the goal. It's just not the goal, because it bores people. We need preparation, we need structure, we need a story. So please prepare. And then we practice with a lot of video recordings. And again, like I said, we analyze. I had to analyze my own broadcasts a lot when I was on television. And the last part then is, of course, the performance itself. Exactly. So biggest, most important thing before going on stage, preparation, not on your own in the best case, because that will probably, if you're new or not that routine, it's going to be a hard one. If you don't know what is important, what's too much emotion, for example, in my presentation, what's too little, so where's the line, to get a feeling for that. And on stage, yes, like we said, being ourselves, having created some emergency solutions or just texts.
Procedures.
Exactly. Scenarios, emergency scenarios, whatever, for things that could happen. So I was always someone who thought ahead. Okay, if I say that, and for example, you call someone on the stage who won a prize and the person's on the toilet, what do you do? So things like these, prepare them, think of what could happen, because this makes you extremely sovereign, extremely secure, extremely confident if you know that here, and that you can like unwrap it just in case you need it.
Yeah, I had that once at an event where basically they were then presenting a new blog, like an internet blog, and they were presenting it live, the website. And the moment they clicked on the first link, it said internet connection failed.
Classic.
All right. Okay. And I thought, well, that's probably not going to be solved in 1 or 2 seconds. So I immediately stepped in. But it was really like, okay, we need to change something, because just waiting now until they have the internet connection back, it's going to take 1-2 minutes. Until then, the air is out of the event. And basically there is nothing left. So that's really, really key to be hands-on. And what you were mentioning with the woman who said, well, I can talk about this for 3 weeks. You don't have 3 weeks. Nobody's going to listen to you for 3 weeks. There is this famous quote from Winston Churchill, who said, if you want me to talk for an hour, give me 10 minutes to prepare. If you want me to talk for 10 minutes, I need 2 days. And if I have all the time I want, I can start right now.
Yes, super correct. So the less time you have, the more preparation exactly it needs, because you have to press all of your knowledge in like, I don't know, 20 minutes. And that's not easy. That's not easy. And I always said, sometimes for the beginning, the first 2 sentences or first 3 sentences of my presentation, I sometimes needed 2 hours for these first 2 or 3 sentences, because just the beginning as well is just the most important, how to start the thing. So it's normal. It's normal. And again, we are pros, we are professionals and need that time. Now imagine someone who has to present something for the first time in front of their bosses, colleagues, meeting, whatever. It needs like 5, 6, 7 weeks of preparation sometimes.
and all the thoughts that come into your mind, like, oh, what will they think of me, and oh, what is this going to mean for my career, and so on, and then nervousness and so on. I would like to shift gears from the public speaking realm to, well, actually something that really I found very fascinating. After 10 years of the glamorous world of television that you've been on, you changed into a completely different field and you went to work in a hospice for, I believe, 1.5 years. Tell us, how did that happen, and what was it for? What was it like for you? Because it also probably was kind of a cultural shock or something. I don't know, but it was. I'm very sure it was very different.
Yeah, so of course, also that was never on my radar to work with dying people. Like I said before, I feel a lot. I'm a very sensitive person. I just had to learn to listen to it. So I felt quite fast that television was coming to an end for me. I loved it. It was preparing me for so much more, but I also felt it was not where I want to end up at. And the last thing, or one of the last things I did on television was Dancing Stars. And my
Like
mother,
Dancing with the Stars, basically, in a way. Yeah.
exactly. And my mom was in the audience always, every Friday, watching the daughter. And I just got, I don't know, I was kicked out, I think, like 3 rounds before the final. And she, or her body, basically started to collapse the day after. And that was the first time, I was 30 at the time. That was the first time that I had to suddenly deal with the topic, because it was an emergency surgery. So it was really bad, really bad. We didn't know if she will make it or not. The first time in my life that I was confronted with the topic with death and dying. And on my way to the hospital to her, I was sitting in my car back then. It was red lights. I was like, red light waiting, looking to the left, and there were like a huge advertisement on the street with an old woman, and she was like lifting her arm and head up to the sky. And it was an advertisement for a hospice in Vienna, a very popular one. I was looking at that, and then something happened which was similar to the casting television situation I was describing before. Very difficult to put into words, but it was just like a feeling that came like really like from my head through my body and in my car, looking at that to my toes. And suddenly it was like a download, or like, I don't know, like a calling or something. I don't know. And that told me, and this is what you're going to do. And I really didn't think of it that much. And the same evening, I was sitting in front of the laptop Googling already, what can I do in Vienna? Which kind of educational programs are there? Which hospices are there? And that's how I started to research. And then I think 3 weeks or so later, it was in the training program. And it was only the training program. Doesn't mean that you have to do it, because a lot of people are curious. They listen to it, but when it comes to doing it, so like really sitting next to a person who is going to die, a person who is sick, a person who smells maybe in a certain type of way. There are things that not all the people are in the course really are able to do them. But you can only find out, by doing it at least once. And so after the first time, I was like, that's my thing. It was like back then in television, I was like, I'm super aligned with it. I can handle it very well. I'm not afraid of it. When there was this woman, she was literally in her last hours. She was laying down like a baby, and she pulled me into her bed. And that was like on the first week of me being there. And I was super new and I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do. I was really grabbed by her, and she was crying and kind of like screaming. And it was very, not disturbing, but very overwhelming in a way. And she grabbed me just, and I was laying there with this person I've never seen before, and I knew she will die soon. And I was just okay with it. It was overwhelming, but it was just okay with me. And I was like, you know what? As soon as I stepped into this hospice, I was like the slave, I said, for them. I just wanted to be there for them. I said, you can yell at me, you can give me all your whatever it is type of emotion. I'm going to be here for the next 4 hours. So do whatever you want with me. And it was a beautiful experience, 1.5 years doing this. Yeah. Learned me a lot, taught me a lot as well. Yeah.
It sounds like a very grounding and down to earth experience. And when you said it taught you a lot, what were the biggest learnings for you?
Another reassurance of doing what I really want. Maybe the biggest one so far. Because we tend to forget that we are not living forever. We think we have time for everything, like forever, but we have not. So reassuring myself, I'm absolutely doing the right thing, because I had a lot of people telling me, are you crazy going into a hospice? My mother, again, she was like, you're going to be depressive. Don't do that. If I'd listened, I would not have done it. There were the media writing about me in a very weird way. What is wrong with her going from television to a hospice? Is she going down the... Yeah. So don't listen. Do what you feel. Do what you feel. It will fulfill you, and everything else will really frustrate you. I'm totally convinced in the long run. So that was a very big learning, but also to not take everything so seriously, like, or I don't know, not go over the speed limit on the highway just to be somewhere 5 minutes earlier, and these things. Yeah.
Very beautiful. And now you basically you just moved, like during the pandemic, I believe, to Bali from Vienna, Austria. And before that, you were coaching people here, and you're still doing it in public speaking, presentation coaches, CEOs, and so on. And you also started your beauty business on the side as well. So first of all, what I'm curious in moving to Bali or moving to a different country, to a different continent, moving on the island, that sounds like many people's dream again. And what were the things that you maybe did not think of before you moved? What were the biggest ahas when you suddenly came to Bali that was very different to the normal, let's say, Western standard life that you had before? I mean, you never had a standard life, but you know what I mean, I guess.
Well, it's literally a big culture shock. Have you ever been to Bali?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. How long was that ago?
2010 April. I was there for a Tony Robbins seminar.
Yeah. Well, a lot has changed since then. So it's really everything is different. I don't even know where to start. It's when you come here, you have to be patient when it comes to bureaucracy, for example. So if you need documents, papers, whatever else, be patient, because it's not the Western speed, it's not the Western mindset. That's very, very important, because you can easily get frustrated waiting on whatever. Yeah. And what I find very funny here is that, for example, people are not sticking to timelines. So we in Austria are very much like, okay, we have the appointment at 4. All right, 4. 4, I'm going to my accountant. Here, when you have an appointment at 4, can be 4, can be 5, can be 3.
What day?
Exactly. So that these are the things you really have to get used to, and can very much frustrate you in the beginning. Yeah, you learn to adapt, because the fun thing is, if I come an hour later, nobody cares as well. Nobody's, in a bad mood if I come too late, because it's just normal. Everybody comes late or too early. So this is something that is definitely very different from Austria. But I chose Bali because of the mindsets, the people, the energy, which is very different from Austria, in the sense of, and don't get me wrong, all over the world, there are cool people in every city of the world, are cool people who have a specific type of mindset that I like. And of course, I'm only talking about my preferences now. But I never identified with Austria. I am Austrian. I love Austria. It's a beautiful country. I love Vienna, but I never have identified mindset-wise as an Austrian. Never. I don't like the envious part. I don't like the negative part. I don't like the complaining part. There are so many things. It's just not everyone again, but the general vibe is very limiting for me. It's not open. It's not thriving. Yeah.
In Austria, you mean?
In Austria, exactly. And that's why I was like, to change something. I've achieved a lot in Austria. For me, it was just like, it was time, after 40 years, to experience something new and to really change my mindset as well. And that's why I came here, because I would have never thought how incredibly international Bali is. You have people here from all over the globe. It's incredible how businessy Bali as well can be. I think some people have kind of like this a bit picture that I'm sitting in front of the coconut on the surfboard in my bikini every day, and that's my life here. It's absolutely not. Yes, every now and then I drink a coconut. But that was it. So it's really can be, if you choose to be very businessy, you absolutely have the platforms here for it. You have the people for it. You have the communities, the groups for it. So that's amazing. So you really can thrive here a lot. And people are incredibly nice. I like positiveness. That's what I try to implement in myself all my life. I like positive people. I like people who are talking about the solution, not always sticking to the problem. And this is why I feel very comfortable here. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful to hear you talk, and our time has come almost to an end. But first of all, I would like to know, where can people find you that are inspired by you, that think, wow, this is really cool, and how could you help them, or how do you help them?
You can find me everywhere. So on all the existing social media platforms, my name, you see it here, is Cathy Zimmermann. I don't know, maybe otherwise I can write it down somewhere. But on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, my website, cathyzimmermann.com. Are you writing it down now, Ronny, on a piece of paper?
I'm actually thinking about that. Yeah, go on. And how do you help them?
And I help everybody we talked about that. Everyone who has issues with communication, everybody who wants to be and feel more safe and secure in front of a camera, on a stage, in front of people. This is where I'm your person, and I'm very confident in saying this. I have an experience of more than 4,000 live broadcasts, so I really know what I do.
No, the other way.
Oh yeah, thank you. But with two N. And yeah, we didn't
To M
talk
to N.
Huh?
To M and to N.
Exactly. Yes, that's it. That's me. And you find me everywhere with my name. Perfect. And we didn't talk about the beauty business, so I won't say anything to that now. But public speaking, communication, feeling yourself, getting more confident. Hit me up.
Yeah. I would love to touch part of that, but we have just around 2 minutes left. So I would like to ask you, what are some closing thoughts that you would like people to know, that you would like to people to get from our conversation today? In 1 minute.
I would love to encourage really everybody, no matter if woman or man, to listen more to yourself, and not only listen, but also to follow what you feel. So if your inner voice says, do it, do it. If your inner voice says, don't do it, then don't do it. And don't listen so much really what other people think or say, because it's just not their life, it's your life. And if you're run over tomorrow by a car, what does it bring if you live the life of somebody else? So please follow your heart and your gut. Thanks.
I want to thank you so much. It was such a beautiful conversation with you. It was very, very inspiring, feeling the Bali vibes all over and bringing them into the world. So thank you so much. And I hope that many people are looking to find you. And I'm delighted to see you again when you are in Vienna at some point. So thank you again for being on the show. This was very, very beautiful. Cathy Zimmermann, everybody. Woo, 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 woo.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sticking with us until the end. To make this content even more valuable for you, please leave a comment below and share your thoughts, and also share this video with somebody you care about who absolutely needs to see this. Thank you very much. Have an outstanding day and see you next time.